and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're doing very well. Hello, hi, welcome back to my channel. So, I actually, first of all, just a little nostalgia for you. I have a Red Bull with a little straw here. I'm actually on like the last little step here, so hold on. Mmm, super delicious. That's been sitting for like 10 minutes and it's very warm. Mmm, delicious. So hi, welcome. We are going to be talking about something today that I tweeted about and it got a conversation started. I'm not saying I started the conversation before people come for me, Jesus Christ, but I just want to say that I did tweet something in regards to James Charles and Shane Dawson that is very confusing to me, and I wanted to tweet it to kind of see where people were at, if I was, you know, doing a thought that was so out there that no one agreed with me, or maybe some people agreed, and the overall kind of reception to it was that people were like, oh, this is a really good point. So I am going to bring it over here to the besties on my YouTube channel. Allegedly Bear. Hello. Looks very cool in the frame here. I'm looking. So, as we're aware, James Charles is in a bit of hot water right now with being inappropriate with underage fans, to put it very lightly. And also, a little throwback to summer, Shane Dawson was being exposed for allegedly for both of these, by the way. Let's just fucking get that out of the way. Being inappropriate with minors too. And underage fans. So both of these people are being accused of a similar thing, right? One of those people got absolutely dragged for it. One of those people got months upon months of ridicule and harassment for it. Completely deserved, by the way. Shane Dawson. And I'm very confused. The James Charles situation that's been going on for months now about multiple different people coming forward, if that was happening to Shane Dawson, it would have been a completely different story with the outcome and people talking about it. And I'm just very confused as to why there's a double standard with these two creators. And I really do want to just have that conversation because it's something that's confusing me. And in no way is this a video supporting James. In no way is this a video supporting Shane. I just want to say that both of these men are being accused of the same sort of thing. But one of them is getting held accountable for it. And the other one is getting talked about for like 12 hours, and then he's posting, oh, I'll be back next week for videos. I love you guys. I miss you so much. So I'm going to read you these two tweets. It was only two tweets I did. I woke up from a nap and I tweeted this. So these were my thoughts while I was sleeping, obviously, and I just needed to put it out there. So I said, and now this tweet got 682 likes, which is pretty good. So people were kind of on board with it. And I said, why the months of anger and outrage? Completely deserved. Completely deserved. I want to get that out of the way. Against Shane Dawson for inappropriate, disgusting behavior towards minors, but for James Charles, it's a topic of discussion for 12 hours before people move on and forget. I'm very confused. So that was the first tweet. Then I tweeted, also, dear fellow drama channels and commentary channels, let's have the same energy for James that we did for Shane. And now, because it's such a similar situation, I'm very confused as to why, especially, you know, journalists, commentary, drama channels, whatever, are being so silent about James, or if they're talking about it, are not talking about it the same way they did for Shane, or at the same magnitude they did for Shane. It's very confusing. I just want to read out a couple of responses before I start talking. So, someone said, yes, please, it's insane that James is allowed to get away with this behavior, even after admitting. It's disgusting. People are saying this is why you're my favorite. I agree. They don't take it seriously because it's a male alleged person coming forward. So that also is a conversation in itself. So in the response to the why the months of anger against Shane but not James, someone said, and there's some interesting responses to this that I kind of want your opinion on as well, because I'm a bit about it. So someone said, because Shane looks like Shane and James looks like James. Youth and beauty are better than bail money when it comes to social media. And then I was like, is it that? Like, is surely James Charles being pretty is not the reason people aren't talking about this. I feel like it has something more to do with, like, power. Right? Or are you disagreeing with me? This is why I'm confused. Someone said, maybe because people are just sick and disappointed by all this similar behavior. The human brain can only take so much bad news. I don't like that. I don't like that approach. Because it's almost like if someone comes forward, no one's going to listen to them because someone else already came forward. People don't want to talk about James because we already talked about the same thing with Shane Dawson. These are two very different people. I don't understand that logic whatsoever, and I want to ask you, do you agree with that statement, or do you, like, are you in the same boat with me where I'm like, why is it that we talked about Shane in this way, and now we're not going to talk about James in this way because, what, we're tired or disappointed or can't handle the bad news? It's like, then that poses the question moving forward that people would never want to come forward because people don't want to talk about it because people have already talked about it. And especially because it's different people. Someone said, just because he's closer in age doesn't make it any more appropriate. There's a huge power in age dynamic. Disgusting. Yeah. Someone said, this is so ridiculous. It's because for Shane, it's been up for so many years. But I agree, we should keep the same energy. I don't think that people will unless he's been doing it for a longer period of time. And now, with James has been getting called out for behavior like this since like 2019, 2018 allegedly. That was the start of the Bi Sister. And for Shane, it was during his startup on YouTube as well. And so both of these people have been doing it for a big chunk of their career, allegedly. So it's like, I'm struggling to see why one is getting talked about and the other isn't. Or one is getting talked about for 12 hours and then people are like, oh, that's enough activism done for today. Moving on, James is uploading a video on Friday. Can't wait, sister. It's very weird. And someone said that it was that Shane left YouTube and that James didn't. And I was like, interesting. Someone said, I wonder if I can find it. It was like, Shane left so there was more of a reason to cancel him. And James isn't leaving. Like, James is literally promoting that he's gonna upload a YouTube video on Friday. So it's like, with James, it's harder to, like, hold him accountable because he's just gonna keep coming back and uploading videos. But Shane, he was gone, so it allowed people to talk about it more. And I'm like, is that really the approach we're taking? So if we're calling someone out for something, like, sorry, I'm just getting comfortable here. If we're just having a conversation, so I may as well. If, like, someone is getting called out for something, all they need to do is post tweets and post YouTube videos and we'll move on. That's not it. That's a very weird take on that. Someone said, it's weird because James is just tweeting like nothing's happened. Yeah, and like James tweeted and he was like, I was wrong for this, and now he's tweeting, new video on Friday, sisters. It's like, how are you going to do your Notes app apology and then tweet that you were wrong for all this behavior and then be like, new video this week, babes? Let's not normalize that. Let's take a moment of reflection, at least. So after this has happened, James is taking, what, 4 days, like, off? 4 days. So is that the reason people aren't talking about it, as opposed to Shane taking, like, 4 months? And now again, I really do not want this video in any way to come across as I'm sticking up for either of these people. All I'm saying is, if the thing that James is now being accused of and the person coming forward and the person showing screenshots and all these images of James and all these text messages, if that happened to Shane Dawson, could you imagine social media? Could you imagine social media? But it's happening with James and it's silent. People aren't talking about it. People don't want to talk about it. I'm struggling to understand why. And people are trying to, like, come up with reasons, and we're, like, trying to come up with reasons because we, like, don't, like, there's nothing to prove why that would happen. Okay, here we go. So it was Mic Drop said, because you can only cancel yourself by deplatforming. Otherwise, you'll move on to the next scandal. So, basically, that Shane chose to leave, like, and so people had a lot more time to kind of go after him, but James is just, like, moving on to the next video. And that's upsetting. You know what I mean? So people aren't going to talk about this because why would they bother? He's just going to be posting TikToks again. That's weird. There's something about it just doesn't sit right whatsoever. Like, even with Jeffrey, like, it was talked about with Jeffrey whenever stuff like this came up. But for James, it's not. And for James, it's been like story after story after story after story, and it's like, at what stage are we gonna, like, sit down and have a heart-to-heart and talk about this? You know what I mean? We're trying. Nobody's listening. So someone said, it just is that it's cool to dump on Shane and not to dump on James. But maybe people will get their head out of the clouds, I was going to say something else, and realize that they're both wrong. So what, it's not cool to go after James, so let's not hold him accountable? Let's not talk about what's happening? Let's not listen to people coming forward? Because it's not cool to? Like, what message is that? It doesn't sit well. Bestie, I'm gonna be real. This story makes me feel so uneasy because just anything whenever it comes to power dynamic makes me feel very queasy. And with this, not only is it like the power dynamic, even if James was just talking to this fan, as in like talking to a fan, power dynamic, but just that like people are almost scared to give their opinions on the matter. Really? Let's read some more of these out. Someone said, I think the reason that the GP, the general public, or sponsors aren't doing anything about this is because James is so close in age to the people that were coming forward, so no one gives a shit, basically. It's almost like society ignores this behavior. I also think people are just going to deny this behavior. It feels like it takes, you know, time for people to come forward, and people just aren't wanting to listen. And that's... like, we're not even wanting to have a conversation, we're not even wanting to talk about this, but with Shane we are. Very weird. I think everyone is tired because it's like same situation over and over and over again with James. And again, this is my argument. Is that enough to be like, let's, you know, only talk about the amazing things James Charles is doing, which, what's an amazing thing James Charles has done within the past 2 years? Party during a pandemic, using people for clout, stories like this coming, like, what has he done? And that's a genuine question. If you can tell me something, I'll make sure to include it in my next James video. What great thing or good thing has he done recently? And I genuinely mean that from a constructive place. Please tell me and I'll include it. And I genuinely do mean that. If you can find something, let me know. Okay. So it says that James is gaslighting everyone. It pisses me off. I felt sorry for him after Dramageddon 2 and 3, but now I see that he fooled us. These people will never change. Their money, fame, and reach allows them to continue this behavior. People are just blaming the person coming forward. 1, Shane does not look like James Charles. Is that really what it is? Like, looks? I really am struggling and finding it hard to believe that people don't want to ever hold James Charles accountable because of his looks. Really? Sorry, that's my neighbor's kids out screaming outside. They are seemingly having a great day. I'm very happy for you on their trampoline. Go off. Really? Looks? I struggle to comprehend that that's the reason. But a lot of people are saying it. James Charles has a far bigger reach and money than Shane did at the time of people coming forward. This is a lot of people coming forward about the same sort of idea that they believe this has to do with looks and James's reach and stuff. And it's just like, how disappointing is that? How disappointing? And I want to know what your opinion is. It was just a thought process that I had last night, and I'm gonna be honest, I was talking to a bunch of creators, probably ones that you watch, you're in the same space that I am, and we're all saying the same sort of thing. Even if they're not making videos on James, or not making as many as they did on Shane to James or whatever like that, we're all saying the same thing, and it's a bit weird that the audience is reacting more to, like, Shane stories, and, like, we're living in a time where there's stories about James coming out, and no one is, like, wanting to have the conversation or caring to, like, you know, question it, or, but if this came out against Shane, like, it would be like, oh, but with James, it's like, that's it. But don't worry, sisters, he'll be back on Friday for a new video. Yay! Woohoo! We won, sisters, we won! Doesn't sit well. Does not sit well. I want to know what you're thinking about this, and I really do mean that, because this has been such an open conversation. It has been from the Twitter besties, now the YouTube besties, and if some of y'all, you know, hi, like, I want to know where you're at with this, what you think is going on, why you think it is, why people don't want to speak out against James. Is it a power thing? Is it a looks thing? Why was it, like, so much so in against Shane and not James for similar behavior in this? And I'm just talking about the pattern of behavior that's so similar between them in this retrospect. Like, focusing on that conversation, I want to know why you think it's so heavily in one way rather than the other way. Especially in real time whenever we're being told things, like in 2021, you know what I mean? I think it's an interesting conversation with many different approaches, and I genuinely want to hear yours. So, make it known in the comments, even if you want to write a couple paragraphs. I'll read through it. Besties, make sure to read through the comments and engage, and you can, you know, talk to each other about this, because no one fucking else is. I love you, thank you for watching, I hope you're having a great day, and you know what, for good measure, let's just... Allegedly. I love you, see you in my next one, and bye. Mwah!